Laziali, welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile, and we have to talk about Lazio Napoli. Not a great performance, but at least Lazio got 1 point back. And, we moved a little bit the table. It wasn't an astonishing game, but, I think here's the reason why, right? Lazio didn't win. Away for 5 games, we won 5 consecutive games, and he's back. And what happened? Lazio started winning again. Yeah, we got a draw against Napoli, and Alistair, it wasn't the best Napoli we saw, right? They had a lot of missing players, so you could expect maybe something more from Lazio.
Well, first of all, yeah, I'm back. Well done for holding the fort in my absence. And I was ready for you to blame this on me, so I've come prepared. I hope you can hear this because I'm going to play you your own words. Okay, let's listen to this.
We're going to catch up next Monday after Lazio Napoli, and I hope Alistair will be back. So,
did you hear that? You said you hope I will be back. So I'm not having you being unhappy about me being back, Vittorio, because of the last podcast you said you hope I'll be here. So you've only got yourself to blame.
Absolutely. Well, you're 50% of the podcast, so it's we missed you. At least it's half of the job you're doing, or you should be doing. So that's why I'm happy you're back.
Yeah, well, thank you. It wasn't the most exciting return, I have to say. I mean, I know there's certainly some talking points around this game, but as an actual spectacle, it was probably the worst game I've seen this season. Lazio game. I've seen a lot of bad Roma games as well through work, but yeah, it kind of summed up a lot of the issues, I guess. Well, for both teams, but from the Lazio perspective, I think.
Yeah, but
comes back to the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think one thing that we have to mention is I didn't expect Napoli to come to Rome and park the bus in front of the goal. I mean, they won the Scudetto last year, and now they play against Lazio, and the only thing they want is 1 point. I was surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted that last night. That it's just incredible how quickly they've transformed into like a very average-looking Mazzarri team, and really wasn't long ago they were one of the best attacking teams in Europe. I mean, tearing teams apart last season for fun, the Champions League as well as in Serie A. And now, my God, it was like a 5-man defense. Like you say, they weren't really interested in attacking. I mean, to be honest, they didn't really look capable. And I know they're missing a lot of players, but even so, the guys they did have aren't exactly amateurs. They still had a very strong squad compared to most teams. So
and they signed a lot of players recently, so it's not that you can blame the absence. I mean, Ngong,
yeah,
I mean they signed a lot of players, so really you cannot complain. Lazio had 3 players missing: Mobile, Zaccagni, who are the top scorer of the team, and Patrick, who is the starting defender. So I mean, I wouldn't complain about the absence. There is this stats about Opta that it's really interesting, Alistair. Napoli have ended a Serie A match without firing a single shot on target for the 3rd time since the return to the top flight in Serie A. I mean, this is incredible. Last time they didn't have a single shot on target was the 1st April of 2012 against Juventus. I mean, this is incredible, right?
The Mazzarri magic. He can make history. I mean, yeah, and it wasn't even like I don't know. I mean, it wasn't even like they were close. They didn't even really threaten at any point.
No.
There was the Zielinski free kick that he just knocked wide, and there was that volley by Gaetano.
Yes,
and I think those are the only 2 chances that you can even perhaps call chances that Napoli created. But Lazio, I still don't think, my takeaway from this game that Lazio are the team who should be kicking themselves that they've not got 3 points. But I still think you could call it a fair result because Lazio didn't do nearly enough to merit 3 points, really. I mean, Castellanos produces the finish of his life, and he's offside. But beyond that, there was very little to really get excited about.
Yeah, talking about Lazio, we mentioned Napoli. Lazio had just one shot on target, and it was a deflection from Vecino trying to make an assist. So, but at least we created chances. You mentioned the incredible goal, and I was close to there. It was astonishing. Uh, Isaacsen in the second half created two chances. Vecino had another one. Cataldi had a shot from outside the box. So we created. We are struggling to finishing. This is the biggest issue, Alistair. Again, no goals scored for Lazio. Just one shot on target. But to be honest, Gollini didn't make any good save at all. Right? Uh, you should be expecting more. Yes, Napoli parked the bus, but you should be trying to do something more. And it's not the first time that we see Lazio playing better, creating chances, but not finalizing them. And it cannot be all, well, we didn't have Chiro, right? Because we signed Castellano, we had Luis Alberto, we had Felipe Anderson, etc. We cannot rely only on Chiro, who is the top scorer, 7 goals between Coppa Italia, Champions League, and Campionato. But I mean, we need the other players to start scoring as well.
Yeah, I thought I was thinking last night. This is exactly the kind of game where if Lazio aren't able to create an awful lot in open play, which we haven't been all season, it's been a season-long problem. And if we've not got the players who are clinical enough in front of goal, which we don't, and Castellanos is missed a lot of chances this season. He's quite significantly underperforming his xG this season. Isaacsen is a talent, but he's not exactly prolific. When it gets to that stage, you feel like something like set pieces should at least be where we can go to for a bit of help here. And I know this is something we've complained about for years, but we just get so little change out of set pieces. And yesterday was the same as like I was having to do a live blog of the match last night, which required some creativity at times when there was nothing happening. But in a match that tight and that eventless, a corner or a free kick in a good position become quite a big moment because it's a rare moment to create something out of nothing. And Lazio had plenty of those opportunities to throw balls in the box and try and get something out of Napoli there. And I don't know, time and again, I don't think that is the big takeaway from last night, but I think it did shine a bit of a light on that because it's a problem that's been going on for a long time.
Yes, and you mentioned it at the beginning, right? The only 2 chances Napoli had came from a corner and a free kick. So this tells you how important they are. Now, I was thinking, Alistair, should Sarri try to do something? Because this free kick issue, this corner kick problem, is not just this year. It's been forever. You have a manager, you should be trying different solution, tricks and things like that to make at least Lazio a little bit more dangerous than now. Because I think teams against Lazio prefer to consider corner kick rather than a throw in. We are less dangerous on corner kick than from a throw in. Same thing, free kick close to the goal. Without Milinkovic Savic, we hardly score. We score against Udinese with Pellegrini, but I would think that was a goalkeeper mistake. That Pellegrini was marked, but I think the goalkeeper should have stopped that. But apart from that, I don't recall chances from goals from corner kicks from Lazio season. So I think Sarri should try to work out different solution. You have Cataldi, do tricks, I don't know, take a corner kick close, etc. Everybody knows what Lazio does on a corner kick. Always on the first post or on the second. And they're prepared. Do something different. Free kicks. They're always Luis Alberto kicking and sending them wide. So, no?
Yeah, if you're a goalkeeper and you know exactly what to expect, and Alberto is good at putting those quite challenging corners right on top of a goalkeeper. at their front post. But the thing is, because it's the only thing that he does, everyone's ready for it, and so keepers tend to they're not trying to catch that and making mistakes. Generally, they just seem to be punching those away, and then regrouping. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, and you kind of need set piece experts to work out the best route to go. Lazio also haven't always been the biggest team in the league as well, so you don't necessarily have that huge aerial advantage. But by the time you've got Romagnoli, Gila, and Vecino on the pitch together, for example, you do have three quite big targets. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the last time I can remember this being an asset, a real asset we talked about, was back when we had Stefan de Vrij scoring, I think, like 5 or 6 goals in a season. My man Bastos chipping in with the odd goal. And back then, in those days when we were playing with the back three, Inzaghi did seem to find a way of getting goals from these positions. But I mean, then again, we did also criticize Inzaghi later in his career for not managing to do that so much. So I think that it's not the be all and end all. It's just that at a stage where we're struggling so much in open play, it feels like an area that perhaps could be looked at a bit more to help the team.
So, Alistair, Giacomo, one of our listeners, Giacomo, wrote me on Instagram. I think this is a good time to reminiscence with Alistair because I would gladly take Bastos as a striker right now.
There you go. See, I mean, it's taken a lot. It's a slow burner. This
a little bit too slow, I would say.
This movement, but I'm gonna get the club to make that signing eventually. I mean, everyone. Is he still in Saudi Arabia? Where's he playing?
No, I think he's in Brazil now, right?
Oh, is he? Ugh, gotta get that guy back. But yeah, I mean, look, Tati. He's where?
Botafogo.
Oh, right. Nice. But yeah, look, Tati is going to be the guy who's talked about a lot, and Isaacson. Because for them, this is the big opportunity, isn't it? And this kind of period, I guess. The Frosinone game was really encouraging. It seemed like the turning point almost, where you're like, wow, they've both turned up at the same time and they're assisting each other as well. And it's like, maybe this is the moment. But I think big game like that, it would have been, I mean, that would have been a huge moment for Tati if he hadn't been offside.
Yeah. The problem, Alistair, is both came back from injury again. I mean, this was the first game for Tati after the derby, where he was subbed because he was injured. So, it's a little bit of bad luck. They are not 100% fit. And to be honest, Tati didn't have that many chances. And this is the biggest problem I have. If you go and rewatch the game, I think the biggest chance we had was when Isaacson had that ball, and instead of shooting, pass it centrally to Tati, who risked the back heel and things didn't go well. But Guendouzi tried that pass. It was a risky pass, but it's what we need. And I was close to Maurizio Sarri, and in the first half, you could see him moving all the time. Yeah, attack, going. And every time our midfield would stop, control the ball, turn backwards, ball to a defender, and back again. We have to risk sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we have to pass the ball forward. We have to do those difficult passes, those deep ball like Guendouzi did to Isaacson. Otherwise, you're not going to create chances. I mean, if you pass the ball every time to Romagnoli, it's difficult to score, right? You cannot hope that he can, like Mihalovic, a long ball to the head to Castellanos in the box. I mean, he's not Sinisa. So I think that's one of the biggest problems. And
too cautious.
Yeah, and again, Luis Alberto performance, don't think he did pretty much nothing again, right?
Yeah, I mean, he made a decent run first half to set up Isaacson for his shot. I mean, again, these chances aren't much in a normal game, but in this match, it was significant. Yeah, I think you're right. That's something that was clearly frustrating the crowds last night as well. There were a couple of moments where there were big kind of groans coming out from the crowd when the team wasn't well, players pivoting and going backwards. Um, I think they were probably surprised by how negative Napoli were. I mean, there is an element of that. You're playing the champions. You're playing a team who they know from last season were just ripping teams apart, and it's takes a shift of mentality to perhaps in that first half you're playing, you think, okay, we're getting a lot of the ball here, we're playing in their half a lot, but we need to be really careful in case they break on the counter and get us. And then after that first half, they maybe realized actually they're really not going to do that. We're fine. So even when they did win the ball back, they weren't exactly kind of trying to fizz it up the pitch and send numbers forward. So yeah, I think they were probably surprised by Napoli's approach, because it was kind of like playing a team down at the bottom end of the table in terms of style. I don't mean in terms of ability, but they were surprisingly negative.
Yeah, can I say something? It was too funny to read the press conference of Walter Mazzarri, Napoli's coach, who said, "Hey, we dominated Lazio, ball possession. We had it more than Lazio. That's great against a Sarri team." Yes, you pass the ball between your defenders for 25 minutes. You never went in our half. I mean, that's easy to have ball possession. You didn't create nothing. That's ridiculous.
I think Roma's Mourinho's Roma were like second in Serie A for possession this season. So
I mean, to be honest, that looked very close as Roma's Mourinho team type of football, right? They played, the only difference they didn't have Lukaku in attack. Otherwise, they would try to pass those long ball and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, this is, and again, they spent so much money this winter, and things didn't change. We didn't talk about Gila. Another start. Patrick was injured. Casale's not playing anymore. We have to talk about that. But I mean, is Gila the biggest surprise of the season?
Well, I'd turn this back on you because I probably, because he started very much as the fourth choice and has obviously got that opportunity from the injuries that have occurred, and he's really taken it with some good performances. But would you say it's a bigger surprise that Gila's played this well, or that we've seen Casale completely lose his spot? Considering the weakness, or at least perceived weakness at centre back, Casale looked completely nailed on at the start of the season to continue that partnership that had been so strong last year. And now he's not even getting in the team when Gila's available and Patrick isn't. I mean, has he gone down to fourth choice now? I mean, what?
Definitely.
It's a strange season for Casale.
Definitely strange season. He didn't start well, let's be honest. He was terrible at the beginning of the season. And Sarri kept giving him the opportunity. I think the last game he played was against Verona, where he scored and was disallowed. And I didn't think he played that bad against Verona. But after that, I'm pretty sure he didn't play a single game. He was warming up yesterday. And I don't know if that was because both Gila and Romagnoli got a yellow card, or because maybe one of them was fatigued. But yeah, he didn't come in, obviously. I think that with Sarri, if you get the chance and you take it, he will trust you and he will keep giving you opportunity until you fail. And to be honest, Gila is playing really good. And I think he has something that Sarri really like. He's very good with the ball. He could play midfielder, to be honest. I saw him warming up, and he has great ball skill. He was doing tricks shot with Luis Alberto when warming up before the game. So I think in a team that a little bit struggled to create chances, Gila can give you some extra boost that Casale cannot. Obviously, Casale could be more important for the corner kicks, and we mentioned that. But I think Sarri prefers someone who has ball skill like Gila rather than Casale. But the season is long. I think you need to rotate a little bit more there, right?
So we're going to have Gila in central midfield and Bastos up front. It's going to
Yeah.
be a team of Lazio defenders, basically.
And Lazzari left wing. Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's been really nice to see and that Sarri probably likes so much about him is just the kind of attitude he's had about seizing this opportunity, because he's had to spend so long out of the team, not getting a game, not really having even a hope of getting a game really for a long time. A lot of transfer rumors about how long he's going to stay at the club. And then he gets that opportunity, and he just looks like he's so ready for it. I mean, his attitude, his approach on the pitch, I think, really impresses people, and so that's been great to see. I think you're right about that. He's reliable on the ball, but he's kind of physical in a good way.
Yeah.
He's got decent pace, but he likes to leave a bit in on players, which I quite like. But I don't feel quite as panicked with him, seeing him defend in the box, as I did with previous kind of physical Lazio defenders like, Mauricio or whoever. But
You know what? I noticed he's even fast. I noticed yesterday when I was close to the pitch. He's really fast. That's another important thing. Anyway, Alison, I think football is so funny because Gila didn't play a single minute before Salernitana Lazio. And then a couple of weeks ago, there was the rumor that Real Madrid wanted to sign back Gila because they had some central defender injuries. And so Gila is so good now that he deserves to be to the Real Madrid.
Well, yeah, not sure he's quite there yet, but
yeah, I mean, this is so funny. He couldn't play for Lazio, now he's a Real Madrid transfer market target. I mean, this is great.
But the pace thing is a good point because, Sarri does like to play a high line, and that's something that perhaps works against Casali in that sense.
Yeah.
Is that when he's retreating, he might get caught out more easily than other players. And Romagnoli's not lightning quick either, so perhaps having one speedier player, because Patrick's pretty quick as well, so one speedier player with Romagnoli is a better balance for him. I don't know, but I mean, it is a positive again. Okay, they didn't have to do much defending yesterday, but it is another clean sheet, and that is good to see. And it's still a good unbeaten record. I know you're not happy with me for ending the winning run, but it's still 5 games in a row unbeaten in Serie A, which is nice. And looking at the league table is pretty promising now, and considering where we've been at times this season and the performances, and it is amazing that the top 4 is right there.
Alistair, talking about top 4, we have to talk about Lazio against big team, because so far this season things are not going really well. If we consider the big teams, Napoli, Milan, Juventus, Inter, and we had Roma, we played against this team. We won just twice. Roma in Coppa Italia and Napoli at the beginning of the season, away games. We draw just twice against Roma in the Serie A and Napoli yesterday. And we lost against Juventus, Milan, twice against Inter. If you want to reach the Champions League, you should start. They say that you should win against big teams. This is not really happening. Are you concerned about that? Do you think this will make the difference at the end of the season?
Well, it could do, because it's so tight and because head-to-head is the tiebreaker. So I think having good results in these games is more important now than it ever was before, really. But also, this is something that was so impressive about last season. I think a huge part of the reason Lazio ended up in second was from their results in these big games. And yeah, I think Alberto last night referred to it as a 6-point match, because that's what these games basically are. It's a football cliche, but it comes from somewhere. I mean, you're obviously taking 3 points from one of your direct rivals as well as winning 3 yourself. So the thing is, now this season, that Bologna and Fiorentina have kind of inserted themselves into this race, the number of games that you could refer to as being big matches has increased. I think the game now against Atalanta is enormous, and that's a match that's obviously developed something of a rivalry in the last few years, because of all these Champions League races, Coppa Italia final, all the rest of it, and that's going to be a massive test. Away to Atalanta, it's never easy, but this is now a position where Lazio actually, knock them off fourth place if they go and beat them. And yeah, I think perhaps the struggles to score goals come into that again, because Lazio are really, really struggling to create chances and score goals, even against the weakest sides in the league. So what chance do they have against the best defenses?
Yeah, and the other thing we have to mention is away games, because there's a big difference between Lazio playing big teams at home and Lazio playing big teams away. It's difficult to understand because, I mean, Lazio away game in Serie A against Milan won twice in 32 years now. Even against Juventus, we have been struggling against Inter, etc. So I don't understand why we see a different team playing at home and another one playing away. But again, Atalanta at home, I thought we played probably one of the best 25 minutes. The first 25 minutes, we scored twice after 10 minutes, and then we struggled in the second half. So this will be a very important game for us. We should get back Zaccagni and Ciro Immobile. I think that's important. But yeah, obviously if we win that, it should be great for the table, for the morale, for everything. But as you were mentioning, we struggled to score, especially away games, and we saw it in the Supercoppa in Riyadh. Lazio pretty much didn't play against Inter.
Good thing is, just looking at the fixtures, the only big team of the ones you've named left to play away from home is Inter, which is actually the penultimate game of the season.
Yeah.
By which time they might have won the league. Who knows?
Maybe we will be already qualified for the Champions League at that time. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But it is encouraging, because I think you're right. There is a big home away difference this season with Lazio. So, I mean, I think the Roma derby is an away derby actually as well.
Yeah, and even against Fiorentina, if you consider Fiorentina a big team, we're playing away.
Yeah, but we've got this incredible record against Fiorentina, don't we? So I think it's a mentality thing, and I think there used to be such a, I always think back to Juve under Allegri the first time when Lazio played those games. There was such a kind of timidity about the way they played, and they just seemed to go onto the pitch for those matches just with zero belief. And then all of a sudden there was that season where he beat them in the Supercoppa, and suddenly they just were like, oh, we can win these games, we can beat this team. And since then, there's not been the same fear factor in Juventus games, but I think there probably still is in certain matches. I mean, Inter, the Lazio just haven't turned up against Inter this season. And again, maybe it's just because they think this is a Champions League finalist team. And I don't know, they need to back themselves more. I think this team can, and proved last season they can beat anyone in Serie A.
Do you think the gap have increased between Lazio and the top four, Milan, Inter, Juventus, or do you think it's still the same?
Yeah, I think it has. I think Inter are looking this season far more like the team that we expected to see last season in Serie A. I think they have really improved this year, and I don't think Lazio have improved this year. So that's it. I think Lazio's form has been a bit worse than it was last season, but that's combined with the team, especially Juve and Inter, being a lot better than they were last time round. I mean, the flip side of that is that there's so many. Sorry, someone going crazy outside. So many of the other teams have also got a bit worse. I mean, look at Roma, look at Napoli. and that's what's helping Lazio still be
Yeah.
in the top four race. But yeah, when it comes to those top teams right at the top, I think the gap has got bigger. Yeah.
Alistair, let's finish with the topic you love most, transfer market. Because Lazio is very famous for great signing in the winter. Now, I know you've been away, but Lazio moved
How,
from,
how many have we signed, Vittorio? I've been away for 3 weeks, so we must have
yeah.
at least 4 new players.
So Lazio started signing Rafa Silva. He's our target, main target, great player, etc. Then we moved to Cambiaghi, player on loan from Atalanta, who Atalanta wanted 50 million euros for a player who didn't score a single goal this season and has started pretty much every single game. Then we shift back to Bernardeschi. That was a huge concern for me. And
Classic.
now we are following Clark from Sunderland, but they want 25 million euros. I don't see it happening, to be honest with you. Lazio spending 25 million euros, 30 they say could be the right price in the winter transfer market. I mean, I would be astonished if Lotito strike this deal.
It is funny. I mean, I got back to Rome about 10 days ago, I think, and I've been reading the papers every day. And I think every single day there seems to be a different name. And they're ticking all the kind of boxes of like Lazio transfer rumors. You know, it's like Lazio need it's this kind of formula of, okay, Lazio needs a winger. Okay, who have we got? We've got someone who's a free agent, someone who's out of contract in the summer. You know, there doesn't seem to be any actual concrete evidence behind any of this. It just seems to be people throwing names out all the time. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong, but it's the same every year. It's name after name after name after name, and nothing ever happens. So, look, it's clear what the issue is in this squad. If Lazio are going to improve this season, they need to get in a goal-scoring midfielder or someone to add to the forward line who can actually produce more quality, creativity, and goals. And to do that in the middle of a season, they're going to have to spend money. So I'm not confident that that's going to happen, but it just seems like such an obvious thing to do. You know, there's such an obvious thing to fix in this team at the moment.
Can we say that Lazio again was completely unprepared? I mean, it's the 29th of January, and this is the seventh player linked to Lazio. You went to sign a player the 1st of January. It looks like Lotito woke up yesterday and said, hey, we need a winger. I mean, and I would argue that Lazio don't need a winger. Probably we, as you were mentioning, we need a midfielder that scores goal, because that's where we're struggling. But maybe we need even a left back, seeing how Maruzic is playing, seeing how Izar is not playing anymore. So we were completely unprepared. And my concern is that Napoli signed 3-4 players. Inter, who was probably the best team in the league, signed a player. Juventus did. Everybody signed a player except Lazio. My fear is that from the 1st of February, the gap between Lazio and the other team will increase.
Yeah, and it's the problem with being so bad in January. And it's kind of the problem with being so unwilling to spend any money, because I don't mind being cautious in a January transfer market, because I think you can get a lot of bad deals in January, and you don't want to rush things. It's easy to panic. It's easy to overspend. But then again, we've got Champions League knockout football coming up against one of the biggest teams in the world. We've got a ridiculously close top four race. And like I said, we've got a very obvious issue that needs to be solved. So I think if you're ever going to do it, it's now. And I just don't think we've learned the lessons from the past, which is picking the moments to invest. I think you can always come up with a reason why you need to, but I can't really remember too many January transfer markets where it's just so glaringly obvious what Lazio need to do. And that they've
Yeah.
made a lot of summer signings and the squad has turned around and so on. But I think we've seen enough by now to understand that this isn't a kind of blip or a tactical thing that can be fixed. It's just a problem in the squads that we need something else added.
Yes, and the other thing is, let's not do a signing just because we have to do a signing. I mean, if we have to sign a player, he has to be good. We don't need an Alfaro again. We don't need a Saar again. We need quality player. Otherwise, they're
Oh.
useless. Waste of money, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. So I that's why I think if you're gonna spend money, spend it properly. You know, it makes far more sense to me to actually spend. I don't know if there is a player out there who fits the bill, who is out of contract in the summer, but it's going to cost you 20 million to get him now. Well, okay, that might seem ridiculous if in 6 months you can get him for free, but in 6 months you might have missed your chance to qualify for the Champions League. You might have missed your chance to knock Bayern out and make a ridiculous amount of prize money. You know, there
Yeah.
in the long-term strategy has to be there, and I think that you need a proper, thorough scouting and recruitment plan in order to do that properly, and that's what's concerning me because, like you said, everything feels so sleepy with Lazio's recruitment that I'm not convinced they do have a proper, thorough scouting and recruitment strategy that they would go and spend that money and spend it sensibly and in the right way. So it's a tricky one, but in summary, I'm not expecting much to happen in the next couple of days. I don't know about you.
Yeah, even because I mean the transfer market this season's closed at 8 o'clock of the 1st of February, so there isn't that much time. And if you're chasing a player now, it's gonna take days, and Lazio is very slow on this. So I can hear it, I can see it happening again. Last second, 1915 of the 1st of February. Lazio found a deal with XXX, and then 8 o'clock, 8.1 o'clock. Lazio didn't make it on time to sign the player. We're gonna sign it in July, and then July he signs with another club. You know, this is what's gonna happen. We know it, and it's not the first time. It's gonna repeat every single season, and it's annoying, really annoying.
The broken fax machine.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a new excuse, right? The broken fax machine, the documents weren't ready, the Football Federation of, I don't know, Jamaica didn't send the documents in time, the door was closed, there was traffic, the car crash, you know, there's always something new.
Was having lunch, yeah.
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 Forgot the dinner, you know,
Yeah.
didn't book the plane, what didn't make it in time for the medical test, things like that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's make or break for Lazio's entire season whether we get someone or not. I just think that my point is that there's an obvious thing to fix. So if they're ever going to do it, they should do it now. But I don't think they will.
Well, again, if you have to sign someone, you have to sign someone who can have an impact. Obviously, if you're signing Cambiaghi, I don't think he's going to have a huge impact. I don't think he's going to play, to be honest with you.
Jack Clark, what chance does Jack Clark? I mean, I'm sorry, he's not a player I'm very familiar with, but he's playing. He's a young 22, 23-year-old guy who plays championship football in England. What chance does he have of walking into this Lazio team and immediately pulling up trees in Serie A? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he would, but it seems like a big thing to ask of a young guy in a completely new world. You know, if he was the guy, at least Bernardeschi knows what he's doing in Serie A. Okay,
well, he knew what he was doing. I don't know. He knows it still.
Yeah.
But, you know, at least he's young. He's talented. He scored 30 goals. I know it's championship, but let's be honest. The Serie A is not very far from the championship, right? So
best league in the world. Did you not see?
Championship you're talking about?
No, Serie A was voted the
top
league in the world.
Yeah, for what?
Not voted. It was some sort of study.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah.
But anyway, Let's see. Maybe we'll speak again in a few days' time, and we will have some excellent signings to report on. So
Yeah, I think the holidays didn't have a nice impact on you. Well, anyway, thanks again, guys, for listening. We'll be back after Atalanta Lazio, maybe with a positive note rather than this one of today. But thanks again for everybody for listening to the podcast. Thanks to our Patreon. Remember, you can support us at patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. And yeah, Alistair, I'm not going to say it again, but you can imagine it. So thanks,
you missed
thanks
me.
everybody, and take care.
Cheers.